Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Schmozcast. I'm your host, Frony. I am in the studio with Chandler. How we doing, Chandler?
Doing good, man.
Aiden is also here.
I'm doing fantastic.
Good. And, of course, we have Literal Martinez.
I am doing literally okay. Not too bad.
Sorry, can you tell us that one more time?
Yes, I am doing okay, literally.
Okay. Yeah. All right, good. Glad to know that he's okay. He's okay for now. We got a lot to talk about. We had a pay-per-view. Extreme Rules happened on Sunday. We're going to run down the card and the results, and then we're going to get you our overall feelings on the pay-per-view without going into too much detail, and then we will give you that detail on every match, at least the ones that deserve it. So starting off with the pre-show, you had Andrade Cien Almas defeat Sin Cara. Sin Cara apparently is still alive, has a job. This is news to me. New Day and the Sanity had a tables match. Sanity won that one. The B Team won the. This is now on the main show. This was the first match of the night. Yep. Is that correct?
Yep.
The B Team is now your Raw Tag Team Champions. They beat the Deleters of Worlds. After that, you had Finn Balor and Baron Corbin. You had Carmella retaining over Asuka for the Women's Championship of SmackDown. James Ellsworth, Shark Tank, all that sort of stuff went on there. He's into the cage. He's out of the cage. United States Championship match. Jeff Hardy lost to Shinsuke Nakamura. Crotch shot. Randy Orton gets involved after the match. Thought it was going to be... I don't know. I guess I thought it was going to be Shinsuke Orton, but we'll get into that one a little bit. Then you got Braun Strowman technically losing to Kevin Owens, but if you ask me, certainly Kevin Owens seemed to be the more defeated one, if you catch my drift. The Bludgeon Brothers took down Team Hell No. Roman Reigns lost to Bobby Lashley. That was a bit of a surprise for me. Alexa Bliss retained over Nia Jax. AJ Styles retains over Rusev, and Dolph Ziggler beats Seth Rollins in a 30-minute Iron Man match that went into overtime. So there we go. Let's go around the room, starting with Chandler on overall thoughts on Extreme Rules, the pay-per-view.
That's kind of my thoughts. As an overall pay-per-view, it was decent. I definitely liked Money in the Bank as a whole show more. I really thought that they did things right with Money in the Bank just as an entire show. There were definitely good moments and good matches on this card, but as an entire show, it was kind of meh.
All right. Aiden, what did you think about this one?
You know, I heard a rumor that next year they're going to change the title of Extreme Rules to Regular Rules.
Just a rumor, though.
WWE Regular Rules.
Yes. So, because when it comes to a title like Extreme Rules, you expect, really like, knockout moments that you don't see any other time of year. And
right.
This is just kind of, again, a rather meh show where you could put these matches in any other pay-per-view and they wouldn't stand out. They would just be like normal WWE pay-per-view matches.
Andre, where do you come in on this one?
I'm going to slightly disagree with you guys. I thought it was a good pay-per-view. I thought it could have been great if the crowd was a little bit better during the last match, and a couple of results would have been different. But otherwise, no, it wasn't as good as Money in the Bank. But Money in the Bank is a Big Five pay-per-view, and this is, for all intents and purposes...
You're going Big Five on us.
Well, WWE has made it a Big Five.
I heard a Big Four on Monday night from commentary, but
yeah, that was from Coach though, and Coach doesn't know what
he doesn't count. He doesn't count.
So yeah, but anyways, no, I thought it was a good pay-per-view. I really enjoyed the stories being told in every match, even the Ellsworth one. I enjoyed that. I liked it. I got entertained, and I'm a Carmella fan, so whatever. But I thought it was a decent pay-per-view as a stepping stone from one Big Five to another. If this was a SummerSlam or if this was a big-time pay-per-view, I would have been highly disappointed. But it is what it is, and it was what it was, and I wasn't expecting WrestleMania. So considering that, I enjoyed it. I was entertained by it, and we'll get into more of the matches later, but there were several things I liked. Some I didn't, of course.
Okay, so interesting thoughts. We have Chandler. You think that this was kind of it was okay for a pay-per-view? You guess, at least maybe in comparison, maybe a little bit better than our like non-branded show or non-dual branded shows. Or where do you stand on that?
I mean, I don't know. I kind of expect more now that the pay-per-views are dual branded, and not only that, like what Aiden brought up as well, the whole there was one Extreme Rules match.
Could have fooled me, but it was just the women's championship, right?
Women's championship was the only Extreme Rules match. There was a cage match, which was awesome, and that was it. And it was just, I don't know. I expect more from Extreme Rules because it's dual branded. So and I mean I think that the matches that they had, the matchups that they had were good.
So it didn't. You're saying it didn't quite live out to the card that was put in front of us.
Correct.
Okay. Aiden, let me ask you this because you brought up about how Extreme Rules you expect to see a hardcore match or, I don't know, a kendo stick match. I guess that was kind of the one Extreme Rules match, or just things that are different. No DQ, falls count anywhere, this and that. Make it extreme, make it different than your standard Raw matches, or you just make it different than what we normally get, especially even for a pay-per-view. But would you, we have the TLC. We also have Hell in a Cell. I know Hell in a Cell is more of like a match and a structure, but would you like to see some of these combined? Because like TLC a few years ago, remember we got a stairs match or a chairs match, which are just weird things to me. I think they could combine Extreme Rules and TLC and maybe make it so there really is one night a year where you do get that. But I don't know. How would you like to see that go down, Aiden?
I think it would not be the best idea to combine them, because TLC in of itself lends itself to a lot of opportunities, like individual tables matches, chairs matches, ladder matches, and then all three. So I think you get a lot out of that just by itself. But I feel there's so much potential for a pay-per-view called Extreme Rules when you have almost countless stipulations that you could bring out like every year.
Okay, what are some examples that you would you like to have seen? Is there a specific matchup that you would have liked to see done differently? I know we did get a half Ironman match, but I don't know if that's really extreme. Is it? It's going to the extreme of, I guess, cardio, but I don't know.
Stamina.
It's extreme stamina. There you go. Perfect. But did you want to see an ambulance match or something along those lines, or where are you going?
It's just that WWE has been so creative over the years, and yet they have a pay-per-view called Extreme Rules, and yet there's still normal matches on the card.
Yes, it was very weird. So, okay, let's take this as a whole. We've got 3 dual-branded pay-per-views now. I imagine that no one is here. Andre, I'm going to ask you, but you basically already said it, that it's not a big 5, so Money in the Bank was the best pay-per-view so far of the 3. Extreme Rules is quite a bit down from where Money in the Bank was, but Backlash, which I think was the first one in May, is much even further below the one that we saw on Sunday. You guys are on board with that as a 1, 2, 3? You'd go Money in the Bank, Extreme Rules, and then Backlash as the third?
No, Money in the Bank 1, Extreme Rules 2, Backlash is 20.
Sorry.
Backlash
Okay. Okay.
Trash.
At the end of the year, Backlash will still be the worst one.
Yes, they'll have to do a lot to. I hope so.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But I just want to say something on the Extreme Rule. You guys bring up good points. I guess part of the reason why I enjoyed it so much is because I, a long time ago, stopped paying attention to the names of the pay-per-views because the names don't mean anything anymore.
Great Balls of Fire.
Yeah, and I don't expect a lot of Extreme Rules at Extreme Rules, because WWE has shown over the past few years that they're just names. I will say this. I think they need to get rid of gimmick pay-per-view names and just go back to regular names, and then they can just kind of plan it how they want. And then when there's only one Extreme Rules match on the card, it's not a big deal because it's not Extreme Rules pay-per-view. But I do want to say that Braun's bump, or Kevin Owens' bump, is something
that's extreme. And that was a cage match. So, yeah, I guess there's maybe more than we're leading on to, but it did not feel like an Extreme Rules pay-per-view.
I'll agree with you guys all on that. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Also, then I want to say, a year ago, this pay-per-view would have been Battleground originally, so they did, switched some things around, then that's why we got this pay-per-view now as opposed to wherever it usually is, which I think is in the spring, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe.
I think it's usually in the spring. This has been Battleground the last couple years. There was also early July last year we did have Balls of Fire, but once again that's before the dual branded pay-per-views. So you want to get rid of gimmick pay-per-views? Does that include Money in the Bank?
No.
Okay, so we're keeping Money in the Bank
because that's turn into a Big 5 pay-per-view.
Okay, but if Hell in a Cell is that going to turn it into a
No,
Big 6
Hell in a
Elimination
Cell-
Chamber? What else
See,
we
no,
got
no, no.
here?
The only quote-unquote gimmick pay-per-views that should keep their name should be the Royal Rumble and Money in the Bank. And
Okay.
Survivor Series, because they're kind of all grandfathered in. But like Extreme Rules, TLC, Elimination Chamber, all those, get rid of those.
TLC,
And then
yeah.
you can actually plan the matches for when they fit the feuds instead of having to force feuds. Well, Elimination Chamber's coming this point at the calendar, so we have to have 6 guys and 6 women that are ready to be in this match, and we got to have them all having feuds with each other. And it just, I don't know. They need to get rid of gimmick name pay-per-views in general, except for the Big 5, and then just plan throughout the year as the feuds dictate.
All right, let's go around here and give 2 pay-per-views that you want to eliminate. So you can't pick 3. You have to pick 2, which means you kind of got to keep 1 and delete 2. Chandler, I'm going to start with you, and unless you want me to go first.
No, I think I'm kind of in the same boat with Andre, and I've never really been a fan of the pay-per-view having the name of whatever the gimmick match is, Hell in a Cell, Elimination Chamber, any of those. So I think those would be the 2 pay-per-views that I would get rid of, and just have those matches be matches, and also, like Andre said, like have feuds get to the point where they need to resolve it in a Hell in a Cell, or things get to the extreme, like week after week, you bring out ladders, so you have a table or a ladder match or a TLC match or whatever, put the title on the line.
Yeah.
So I would do Elimination Chamber and Hell in a Cell.
Okay.
Extreme Rules, just an example. Extreme Rules, if it wasn't, I mean, I guess it would have fit as an Extreme Rules match, but they had a perfect opportunity with those 6 guys that were on Raw for the number 1 contendership to do a Elimination Chamber match, but because it's not that time of year, they didn't do that.
It hurts the booking. We have to, exactly, and that's why I do agree with what you're saying. And if I'm not mistaken, Elimination Chamber was originally on a Survivor Series pay-per-view, the very first ever.
One,
and
yeah.
I agree. I think they should save that in the Hell in a Cell for when it matters. Not, hey, it's October, let's make this happen. So you're keeping TLC. Of the 3, that's the one you're going to keep.
Yeah, because
it kind of comes down to those are the 3 that
yeah,
we're all going to
those
eliminate.
are
It's
definitely,
which 2 are you going to choose? You know.
Yeah, I'm, I guess, kind of okay with TLC being TLC just because you can have a tables match, a ladders match, and even though it's silly, a chairs match, and then you can have the TLC match. I'm okay with that more so. But that's also, I mean, if I could get rid of all of them as pay-per-view titles, I would.
That's why I had you guys pick 2. So Aiden, Chandler is gonna keep TLC. Which of the 3 are you gonna keep, and which 2 are you going to delete?
So I'm gonna disagree with the Elimination Chamber just because for the fact that the way they've built it up over the years has become like, it's a once a year, almost like a last chance at WrestleMania, where they put it between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, and they have it be like, this is the last chance at like a championship match. And I think that's a good way to book it, because if we have it like more than once a year, I think it would lose its luster. So I would delete Extreme Rules and TLC, because also with them being the name, the pay-per-view names, they also kind of lose their luster, and it'd be better to have them more throughout the year, to really emphasize when a feud really gets to the boiling point between 2 contenders or however many contenders.
Before we get to Andre, I'm gonna partially agree with Aiden. I think that I would keep Elimination Chamber where it's at. I liked the way you put that. And part of it is just because I really want to get rid of Hell in a Cell, and I really want to get rid of probably TLC. But then I also agree with you that, hey, having that TLC match really isn't that bad. And you can, as long as you do end it with one of the 2 championships from either show as the TLC match at the end of the night, where you get everything that has been leading up to. You got your singles table, or your singles chair match, and then tag team tables match, and you get up to the main event, and then you have it for the title where it's everything included. I think that's pretty cool too. But I guess Hell in a Cell is the one that I hate the most. But I also get mad at these Extreme Rules pay-per-views that don't feel like Extreme Rules, and Same thing with TLC. Sometimes it's either too much or not enough. So I would get rid of all of them. But if I had to pick two, I'm going to get rid of Hell in a Cell because I feel like that should be a special thing that maybe at WrestleMania there is a Hell in a Cell match. You know, like actually a couple years ago there was a Hell in a Cell match, and there was still a Hell in a Cell earlier that year. I don't know. I don't like that. Mm-hmm. Where do you come in, Andre?
Yeah, you guys all made some great points, but I am going to have to delete Hell in a Cell and Elimination Chamber.
So everyone's on board with Hell in a Cell. That's the first one that's gone. Yes. All four of us agree on that. That's one. That one's out of
I didn't say it, but I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. That's the one that's the worst because you know it's going to come every year, and you have to force. Okay, which feud are we going to have end up at Hell in a Cell? And you got to force it, and it's not organic, and it doesn't play out. So it's like, okay, well these guys are kind of in a feud right now. Let's put them in Hell in a Cell. And then there's like 3 Hell in a Cell matches on the card, and that kind of makes it lose its luster. I love it when it's a random surprise. Oh my goodness, there's going to be a Hell in a Cell between these 2 guys or these 2 women or what have you. So that's why I would delete that one. I will delete Elimination Chamber, even though I almost changed my mind thanks to Aiden's really, really good answer. But
Christian knows his stuff. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, Brandon, relax. Now you threw me off. So, yeah, delete Hell in a Cell, delete Elimination Chamber, because those 2, I think, are the best when they're kind of spontaneous,
sure,
or when it fits the story. Because it's really hard to even though, man, see, I'm going against what I'm...
It is tough. After hearing both of your guys' cases, it changed me up a little bit that I wasn't so sure. I wanted to get rid of TLC.
I do want to keep TLC in Extreme Rules because TLC is fine by me, because as long as you have 1 or 2 TLC matches or a ladder match and a TLC match, that's fine. It lives up to the hype because those are matches that doesn't need to be a whole bunch. And Extreme Rules is easy to fix. Just add 1 or 2 more Extreme Rules style matches, and that's fine. So I think, Hell in a Cell and Elimination Chamber, although Elimination Chamber is kind of an iffy one for me thanks to Christian Aiden's answer.
And since it is October, I really would like to get rid of Hell in a Cell and bring me back a Halloween Havoc. They have the rights to it. I think that'd be way more fun. You don't have to make it as big a deal as it was for WCW. A lot of people, if you worked for WCW, they'll tell you now that they viewed that as their WrestleMania more so than Starrcade a lot of the time. And I don't think you have to build it up quite as much, but I think Halloween Havoc would be...
That'd be great.
It'd be a lot more fun than Hell in a Cell. And then if you have a Hell in a Cell match at Halloween Havoc, I don't know, that to me that sounds pretty fun. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I digress. Let's get into this card. Let's start at the top with the first match on the actual show. The B team is now the tag team champions. How did you guys feel about this? The partying that they're doing is very reminiscent of the Stanley Cup of the Washington Capitals. So I thought that was very funny how they're talking about, we're gonna go to Buffalo. We're gonna get buffalo wings.
Yeah.
What amusement park do you want to go to?
Post-show?
Yeah, in the post show. So that I don't know. I've had fun with it.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're two guys that deserve to have titles. If I'm not mistaken, I think this is Bo Dallas's first title.
He's been NXT champion, but
on the main roster.
Yep, main roster. And then
Curtis Axel, this is his second at least?
And he won the IC title on Father's Day a few years back, but he was a tag champ with wasn't Ryback, was it?
No, with
Rybaxel?
Maybe David Otunga, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, he's held with, like, as a part of the Nexus or New Nexus, whichever one it was. But yeah, no, I think they're 2 guys that definitely deserve that moment, and I think it's awesome the way that they've been booked since they dissolved as the Miz-Taraj and became the B team now, and good for them. And I think it's pretty cool that that Bray Wyatt dropped the title to his brother. So
his impression of his brother too is so much fun.
It's spot on.
My god, I love it.
They're not brothers.
Oh god.
One's last name is Wyatt and one's last name is Dallas. How does that work?
Literal Martinez
over here.
No, actually, this is the only time I'm not Literal Martinez because they're kayfabe, not brothers. Only in WWE would you have a history of putting guys together that aren't brothers and calling them brothers, and then having actual brothers and not acknowledging them. But I think that makes for great TV, especially in the impersonations. And as big a Hardy, Wyatt, and Deleters of Worlds fan that I am, I don't want to be like Michael Cole and say it wrong every single time. That annoys the heck out of me.
You obsolete mule.
I do like the way that this match happened because it sets up the next phase in the Deleters of Worlds story, which is ultimately what I'm focusing on when it comes to this match. Although I did enjoy the B team's post-show antics. The post-show was really entertaining in general. Them sliding, Bo Dallas sliding down the front of the desk was awesome. But yeah, I'm more so curious to see what's going to happen with Bray and Matt. They have a rematch coming up next week, I believe, on Raw. That'll be interesting. Someone's going to turn on somebody. I don't know what's going to happen, or maybe not, but I'm curious to see. So yeah,
somebody's going to hurt someone.
I enjoyed that match. I thought that and most matches, the stories being told were done pretty well. But yeah, I like that match a lot.
Before we go to Aiden, I want to give Chandler some credit. He nailed that.
Boom.
Yeah, it's true. Axel was two-time Raw Tag Team Champion, and one was with Bo Dallas, and then David Otunga was the first one, and then we did have that IC title a few years ago. He won on Father's Day. So, Aiden, your thoughts on the B Team being your tag team champs?
B Team forever.
B Team forever.
So,
B Team's now the A Team.
Yes, but as soon as they, when Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas were walking into Kurt Angle's office and spouting out tag team names, and as soon as they figured out B Team, my heart melted. I felt it. It's real to me. And so, this kind of reminds me of the New Day being like such a fun tag team that you just don't see that often anymore, because wrestling just should be fun. And you have two guys who are just, I feel like they're really passionate about what they do and have worked really hard, and I feel that this is something that they deserve after a long time in the business for both of them. And to see them, obviously their antics, and it's joyful to watch. But I also will look forward to how this plays out with Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt, and see how this whole thing develops, and if there's a betrayal or not. Because if there is, I can tell it's going to be either Matt betraying Bray or Bray betraying Matt, because I know B Team is not breaking up anytime soon.
So the B Team is your Raw Tag Team Champions. If there was only one set of Tag Team Champions, I think that this would not be my favorite thing ever. But I think with the way that the tag teams are really heavily favored on SmackDown compared to Raw, that why not throw these guys a bone? They both deserve it. So I think for the meantime, that this is a good move for WWE. The next match we had was Finn Balor versus Constable Corbin. Where do you guys come in on the Constable Corbin character?
I think it's the best thing that's happened for him since
the haircut.
That is a big part of it for sure. But since he won the U.S. Championship, I think that this is the best version of Baron Corbin that I've seen on the main roster. I thought that he was awesome in NXT, and I don't know. I feel like he's someone that you could say he got kind of hot. You might be able to say that he got hot shotted to the main roster, but I feel like he really capitalized on his time in NXT, and this is the most I've been interested in him since he left NXT, which is a few years ago now.
This is likely the most relevant he's been since, I mean, certainly going back a year when he was Money in the Bank holder. But before that, maybe right when he came up and he was kind of, like you said, hot shot, getting some title shots in the mix.
He won the Andre.
With the SmackDown. Yeah, that's right. I forgot. God, you always forget that how long that's been going on. We've had 5 now.
Mm-hmm. And what was that, the second one?
So I believe so. Yeah. I think so. So Cesaro was one, then Corbin, then Big Show.
Yep.
Aiden, Finn Balor winning over Baron Corbin. Your thoughts on the match?
I mean, I've been a big fan of Baron Corbin now, because his character, progressing up to this point was kind of dulling out, and I think this was something the fans wanted, not specifically, but they wanted to change. I feel like Baron Corbin wanted something to change, and this just happened to work. And I think he's probably having a lot of fun with the role and losing his phone the next night, or someone taking it. Either way, I probably would have preferred Baron Corbin to win, just to further something. But I know I hate to say that because I don't want to see Finn Balor lose.
Right.
But he's won the last however matches they've had together when they're tag team. So I feel like, I think they should have just given Baron Corbin this one, then Finn Balor give him the ultimate win overall next time. I feel this could have been a good setup for something.
Andre, you're liking Constable Corbin quite a bit.
Yeah, I couldn't stand Baron Corbin for the longest time, but this Constable Corbin, as you had said, made him relevant, and I'm actually interested in him. But having said that, I'm glad that Finn Balor won. I think Finn Balor needs as many wins as he can get right now, because he's kind of in a weird spot where he should be constantly in the Universal title picture, and he should have had more than one Universal title reign by now at this point in his career. So I'm of the opinion that he always needs to win. I don't think there's anyone that I would be cheering against Finn Balor for on the Raw roster right now, except for Braun Strowman. So, I'm happy that he got the win. It was a decent match. As much as I'm into the Baron Corbin character, it's still hard for me to get 100% behind it, just because I don't know how long it's going to be and where it's going to lead. But for now, I'm getting lost in the moment and I'm enjoying it. So, yeah, I thought it was a good match. I mean, nothing against Corbin, but I want more for Finn Balor. So I guess it was like, okay, he won. I'm glad he won. I would have been more upset if he lost. But I want to see him doing more. I want to see him go to SmackDown, honestly.
Moving on to the SmackDown Women's Championship, Carmella retains over Asuka. James Ellsworth suspended in a shark cage. He would get out. This was kind of the beginning where I started to notice that there was an awful crowd, that they really weren't into anything that was going on, even when it seemed like it was going to be an entertaining part. So this, to me, was the beginning of kind of paying attention to the crowd and how really disinterested they were in anything that was going on, let alone what is going to go down as one of the best matches of the year, I would think. We'll get there later, but I did want to give a quote from Corey Graves about Asuka putting Ellsworth in the submission move, and he said, "I was wondering if Ellsworth would be immune to this submission due to his lack of chin." I thought that was great. But apparently he was not immune. But I don't know. I thought this was fun. That was a good thing to do. This was a good use of Shark Cage in some ways, which do not always work out. Let's be honest. I think the Enzo one a year ago wasn't that great. We've seen a Jericho one that was okay, but I don't know. Shark Cages can be overdone, as weird as that sounds. But I don't know. I thought this was a fun match and a good way for them to keep the belt on Carmella without really taking anything away from Asuka.
Yeah, I've really come around with Carmella in this title reign that she's on. Just 100% heel work, and she's doing a really, really good job of it. I was happy to see her retain. Didn't really take anything away, like you said, from Asuka. And James Ellsworth, on his Instagram, he said himself, it was a picture of him hanging from the cage, and he tagged Chris Jericho in it and said he also was a sexy piñata. So it was fun and entertaining, and I liked the finish. It was Carmella taking advantage of Asuka being distracted, pushing her into the cage, and covering her quickly after that. And I was fine with it.
Aiden, you think any of this had to do with the pay-per-view coinciding with Shark Week?
Probably.
Not for one of the ladies.
Probably.
Wink, wink.
But I've noticed something strange that I saw, that apparently the last however many, like the last Shark Cages matches, all the heels have won.
Huh.
The Chris Jericho one, Kevin Owens won that one, and then Big Cass won the last one, and it's a strange trend that no face, I think, has won the Shark Cage match in a long time.
Well, I guess they better, if you're a good guy, you better avoid the Shark Cage. That's not a stipulation you want.
Yeah, because if you have the face win, then who gets them down from the cage?
I guess technically this is, I don't know if this rule is extreme, but it's something.
It's a stipulation. It's a gimmick.
It's a stipulation.
I also just feel bad that they keep pushing Asuka in this direction that I feel she should not be pushed in.
What would you like them to do differently?
Well, first off, I'd like to. My dream is to just have her have the championship and have an excellent run with it, just like she did with the NXT Women's Championship. But obviously, I can tell it's not going to happen for a while. But I'd rather just not see her in the title picture just yet, because she came off of the loss at WrestleMania, and now she just keeps getting more losses, almost as if to point out the fact that she lost once and now she's losing every time.
Okay, all right, I think that's fair. Andre, where do you come in on this?
I don't mind it. I love Asuka, but I'm cool with them not always putting the title on someone right away. And yeah, she's losing, but she's not losing clean. She's looking strong when she loses. She's getting screwed every time. Something out of her control is happening. So that doesn't bother me too much. On top of that, the match itself was really entertaining. I enjoyed it. I ultimately think / hope that Becky Lynch is going to be the one to take the title off of Carmella at SummerSlam. That would be perfect. But until then, Carmella as the champion is great. I'm loving her. She's knocking it out of the park, both online, on SmackDown, and especially on the post pay-per-view show. Oh, she was cracking me up with her laugh and her, I beat Charlotte twice, I beat Asuka twice, let's do trivia. How many times did I beat Asuka? Twice. How many times? And then the cackle, just, I love it. She's great. Fans hate her, which is what you want in a heel, and she's taking advantage of that, and she's responding to that hate with heel actions and heel responses of her own, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I'm loving it. So this match was okay for me because she didn't win clean. And yeah, eventually I want to see Asuka win the title, but I think that's something that could be in the future. Just like I want to see Shinsuke Nakamura win the title in the future. But I think that, down the line, that kind of stuff is going to happen for certain wrestlers that have been brought up. I think another person that comes to mind is Bobby Roode too, but I think that there are a lot of things that have to change with him. I don't like the way they're booking him, but I'm going off course. But good match for the Shark Cage match.
All right, real quick, I'm going to go around. You have three options. You have Carmella, you have Big Cass, or you have Enzo Amore. You're going to tell me who had the best main roster run. Chandler.
It's between Mella and Enzo, and as of right now, I would say Mella.
Andre.
Mella is money, and she didn't get fired.
Aiden.
Is there a none of the above option?
So is that jury's out on Mella's run, and that's why? Or you're done with this?
I think she's too good of a heel because I just don't like her.
That's good. Hey, she's doing a great job. Just ask her. Next up, we would have the United States Championship match. A crotch shot, a low blow from Shinsuke Nakamura, and he is now the United States champion.
Didn't see that one coming.
So, I mean, this is a tough one, man. This is like what I put in my notes is not the way I would have wanted to see Shinsuke win his first title.
I saw it coming, though. I knew something when I read that going into the match, Jeff Hardy
had a loose groin.
That he was extremely banged up and his back was really bad. I kind of figured they were going to do something to make it be kind of wonky. I didn't know they were going to do that. And if it was legit because Jeff was hurt and he couldn't really go, then I don't mind that. It sucks that that's the way he won it. But that's kind of his thing. He's been the Pinshasa guy with the low blows. By the way, that was someone, I forget, I think it was Corey Graves on Twitter that said that. Someone, I didn't come up with it.
That's
Either
fine, that's funny.
TJP, someone like that. Someone on Twitter tweeted it out, and it was great, so I stole it. But yeah, that's kind of been his thing, so I don't mind it. And he's the U.S. champion, and I hope he holds it for a while. And he's doing great. He was great on Raw with the title, so I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all.
You mean SmackDown.
We got a caller. Caller, you are on the air here on the Schmozcast, 103.5 The Sun. What's your name?
Yeah, this is Gary.
This is Gary? Gary, where are you from?
Yeah. This is Gary from Cottage Grove.
Gary from Cottage Grove. Great. You wanted to talk some wrestling, Gary? What'd you think about Extreme Rules?
I just had a question for you guys.
Okay.
Is this a radio show all about wrestling?
Yeah, it's all about wrestling.
All right, that's all I wanted to know. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Jeff. Oh, my God. All right. We're talking Extreme Rules here on 103.5 The Sun, and you're listening to 103.5 The Sun, WLSP LP Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. We're talking Extreme Rules here. We have the United States Championship match, and we're talking about Shinsuke Nakamura and Jeff Hardy. Chandler, what did you think about this match? Obviously, it lasted a lot. It was a very quick match. I would have hoped for something a little bit more. We got a little bit more on SmackDown, and a lot of people would have liked those two matches to be reversed. But now, as much of the talk is, it's more about TV ratings than it is pay-per-view buys or ratings on the WWE Network. I'm
completely fine with how this match went. I think that the same praise that I gave Carmella on her heel title run and how she, pretty much how she's been since she won Money in the Bank last year. I think that I will give Shinsuke the same amount of praise and the same kind of praise on this current heel one that he's doing, and him hitting the low blow right before the bell rang and then hitting a quick Kinshasa. I'm okay with it. I mean, yes, I definitely would like to see more out of these two because they're a couple of awesome in-ring competitors, but just for Shinsuke's character, I think it's perfectly fine.
Orton came out. I thought that he was going to beef with Shinsuke, and that was going to be basically the SummerSlam U.S. title match. That was not the case. So we got an Orton heel turn. I guess we've probably seen 1,000 of these over the last 15 years, but is this a better spot for Orton right now?
I think so. I've always been more of a fan of heel Orton over face Orton. Face Orton gets just it's old quick, and by quick I mean the first time that I see him. I don't like his promos when he's a face. I don't really care the pandering to the crowd that he does. I don't really care for seeing him do that. I'd much rather see him just be the like sadistic, twisted kind of unpredictable Randy Orton, and I think that it's great that he's back now as a heel.
And I hate him naturally, so I think that's another reason that I have no problem with Randy Orton turning into a bad guy, because I already just despise him. There is an article right now that came out earlier today from Blake Ostreicher on Forbes, and it says
False.
What is it?
False.
You disagree with this? Yeah, it says WWE. The headline is WWE SmackDown created a big problem for itself with Randy Orton's heel turn. I disagree with this. I haven't read the article yet, but I know that you're not a big Blake Ostreicher guy to begin with. I've
been agreeing with him more recently a lot, but not this article. This article, I mean, I have to read it. That headline, unless it's kind of a Russo swerve headline, yeah, I totally disagree. He's, as Chandler pointed out, he's best as a heel. Unpredictable, vicious, viper-like Randy Orton. Did you guys see what he did to Jeff Hardy's ear on SmackDown? Oh my goodness. I've never seen anything like that on WWE. That's something that I've never seen before. I thought it was it was queasy to me. It's hard to watch that kind of stuff, but it was good. It added to his heel character, and heel Orton's best for business. Sorry, Blake Ostreicher, you are incorrect.
Aiden, I'm most excited to hear your response about this based on when you grew up and became a wrestling fan and your opinions on Randy Orton, because probably since you've been a wrestling fan, Randy Orton has been in the picture, correct?
Yes. When I came into wrestling like just before WrestleMania 25, and that was like almost peak sadistic Orton heel height to me, because one of the first things I see is Orton punting McMahon family, DDTing Stephanie McMahon, kissing her on the lips while Triple H is handcuffed to the ropes and can't do anything. And I'm like, this is how you write a villain.
Yes. Yes.
And again, that segment on SmackDown, you don't expect wrestling to make you almost sick, but since it did, something's going right here.
I agree. I think they are doing something right with this. And man, he needed a change. I know and even I made the joke to start this that we've seen a bunch of Orton heel turns and face turns. That's because he has longevity. He's been around. it's a little bit different than the Big Show and Kane thing where they've turned them into meaningless. I mean, like I said, I have a built-in hatred for Randy Orton that spans years, but this is a better spot for him. I really do believe that. And he has kind of been in that weird territory of a bad guy who plays a good guy for years now. Maybe even since we're going back to The Authority, basically, is how long you would say?
Yeah, and I think another good thing is that he took a little hiatus. He was gone for a few months before Extreme Rules, so that kind of helped that we weren't seeing him every week doing stuff that he didn't need to be doing. So I think it was good for someone at his stage in his career, as long as he's been on TV, for as long as he's been on TV, it's good to have him go away and then come back and do something like he did at Extreme Rules. And then on SmackDown, which is what he did on SmackDown was way more extreme than what he does in Extreme Rules, which is kind of ironic, but anyways.
Okay, so we still have 5 matches to get to. We're going to talk a little bit about one and then kind of skip to our 2 main events. Team Hell No lost to the Bludgeon Brothers. I learned something about this from you guys, but before that, when I was watching the pay-per-view, before I knew about Kane's apparently broken ankle coming into Extreme Rules, there was an awful shot where they had, long before the match started, they had a backstage segment where Kane is basically being beat up by the Bludgeon Brothers. I think Daniel Bryan was as well. Mm-hmm. And Rowan took his mallet and went to smash Kane's foot with it. And he missed. It's really awful looking. Like, it wasn't close. It was hard to suspend any disbelief whatsoever.
It was because his foot was in the door and he hit the door.
Oh. Mm-hmm. See, I thought that he was like on a wall and he just completely missed.
His foot was in the door.
Yeah. Oh. Do you think most people were smart and thought like you guys, or they were dumb and thought like me? Andre, you're not allowed to answer. Microphone was up to his face so fast.
I thought they were all smart.
I figured it out, so what's your excuse?
Yeah, I don't have one. Other than I was like, oh, God, not another one. Okay, well, my mistake there. But anyway, Kane did have a legit broken ankle. And even when the match started, he comes in during the match to help save Daniel Bryan. It was good to see Daniel Bryan work against those two for a little bit, though. I thought that was written well, but apparently that's just how it goes. But Kane, the way he was like planting with his left foot, the broken foot on his punches, I thought there's no way that's a legit injury, but apparently that's not the case.
Yeah, mad respect to Kane for toughing it out and getting in the ring with a legitimate broken foot. And I thought that it was awesome to see, like you said, it was awesome to see Daniel Bryan kind of holding his own against both Bludgeon Brothers and have Kane come out and try to help save him and win the tag titles. It was a pretty cool match. And I don't know. I guess with Team Hell No losing and then with The Miz on SmackDown delivering the eulogy, kind of is leading towards the almighty Daniel Bryan versus The Miz match. So I guess I'm okay with it, but at the same time, maybe just for nostalgia's sake, I would have liked to have seen Team Hell No with the tag titles again. But I mean, it was cool to see them reunited the past few weeks, if nothing else. And now we're most likely going to get the Daniel Bryan and The Miz match at SummerSlam.
Exciting stuff, man. Now's the time. You wanted this go a little bit longer, though. Or are you okay with getting it at SummerSlam?
I'm okay with getting it at SummerSlam. My personal dream fantasy is for it to be at WrestleMania for the title. But, I mean, that might not.
God, I wonder when Daniel Bryan's contract is up all of a sudden, because maybe he can do SummerSlam, do the Miz match. Oh, he re-signed.
Yep.
When was this?
Really? I thought he was.
A couple days ago.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can't remember where I saw it from, but I saw
breaking
news.
You know what the thing to do would be to do SummerSlam, have his contract end, go to All In, come out of nowhere, have a great match, and then sign back with WWE.
I don't think WWE
in a perfect world.
In a perfect world, man. Okay, so after that we had Bobby Lashley beating Roman Reigns. We'll get to that one next week, maybe. The Raw Women's Championship, Alexa Bliss retains over Nia Jax. We'll get to that one next week.
Although Ronda Rousey was beast in that match.
Yes, and she really turned it on. We will get to that one next week. Roman Reigns, Lashley, we'll see. Because they fight again next week, don't they? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go.
Number one contenders match. So we will come back to that.
I just wanted to comment one thing. Where I think Kurt Angle posted on Instagram that the Reigns and Lashley match next week, and I think Lashley commented okay, cool. Let's just forget the fact that I just beat him the Sunday. So basically, this match meant kind of nothing until next week.
And I'm not a fan of that.
Me neither.
Let's move on.
Okay, so then we had the first of two, I guess you could say, co-main events. This is the SmackDown main event of the show. And AJ Styles, the WWE champion, retains over Rusev. If there was any match where the crowd was okay, this would have been the one where it was, you could hear the Rusev versus AJ Styles chants. Other than that, I think this crowd was awful. We'll get to that a lot in the next match. But Styles and Rusev, you guys wanted to see Rusev maybe pull it off, at least because this is, you think this is as hot as he's ever been.
I feel like the time would have been this match to give him the title. But this match was phenomenal. Pun fully intended. It was such a great match. The story that they told with Rusev's leg throughout the match and what looked like he was gonna tap out when it looked like he was gonna tap out to the calf crusher, and AJ focusing all of his kicks on the same leg. That was great. And when he went to put the accolade in, but he couldn't because his leg gave out on him. Everything that they did in this match was great. The finish, the phenomenal forearm, AJ, he hits that move to perfection, and I really, really enjoyed this match.
Before we get to Andre, I want to hear Aiden's thoughts.
I did really enjoy this match for the storytelling with the injuries and all that, but I feel WWE are cowards for not giving Rusev the title. This was the perfect time to do it.
Yep.
The Rusev Day chants have never been louder, and now it's even worse because now I fear there's going to be a fallout with Aiden English. And I'm Aiden.
And I'm English. And I speak.
I speak English, and this is going to be a bad rep for me now.
Oh, son of a gun. I did love his jean jacket that said #and_new.
Yep.
That's great stuff.
Awesome. That was awesome.
Andre, this one screamed old school to me. The selling of the leg and the kicks keep coming to the thigh and everything. I thought that was well done. This is a good match. I'm glad it didn't go quite on last, but I still think that this is a match that I'm not saying it'll be the greatest of the year, but I think this one will be referenced later, like, oh, that fun Styles Rusev match. And we never really seen Rusev in a one-on-one title match at a pay-per-view headlining, so that's also a big deal.
Yeah, if this match going on last would have prevented the awful crowd BS in the main event, I would have wanted to see that. But that's something you can't tell, so I don't mind this not being the main event. And going into it, and even after it happened, I really, really wanted Rusev to win. But it's okay because they usually don't give guys a title on their very first attempt unless you're Hulk Hogan or Roman Reigns. Even John Cena didn't win his first title match. So Rusev not winning is okay to me because the way it happened. Number one, the match was phenomenal, and yes, we can say it for this one. The storytelling was great. It was old school, but it also incorporated a lot of what both of them do. The leg injury, the Aiden English pulling down the turnbuckle and having that cost Rusev. Just the whole thing was great. And the way that they didn't have a confrontation with Rusev and Aiden English on SmackDown, they're still letting that go. They're still letting that breathe a little bit. I like that. And Rusev is a heel that's getting cheered, so they don't want that. So I can see a breakup not being the worst thing for Rusev. It may be the worst thing for Rusev Day because we may no longer have that holiday to celebrate. But I think a heel Rusev solo as a machine beating everybody and making people tap out and getting shot to the top is a great thing if that's the future. But I don't know what's going to happen. WWE could easily ruin it, so I wish they did put the title on him. But I can't take away from this match. It was really good. I was thoroughly entertained, on the edge of my seat, wanting to see Rusev win. 2 nights in a row, or two out of 3 nights in a row, I was cheering against AJ Styles. And it takes a lot for me to cheer against AJ Styles. So touche to everyone involved in this match and the main event.
And this year he'll be rooting against Kawhi Leonard, who will be playing for the Toronto Raptors.
Why do you have to bring that up?
So sorry.
Ouch.
I'm
ouch.
so sorry.
Kawhi Leonard's the worst heel in all of sports. I love Roman Reigns.
He's the worst
to
Frony.
Kawhi
He's
Leonard.
the biggest Frony.
He loves Roman Reigns.
So here's my question. and I imagine I know if Benoit was on the show where he would stand on this. If Rusev had won, would you guys have been upset that they didn't give it to Shinsuke, since the idea was, keep it on AJ because the Australia, basically their version of the Greatest Royal Rumble to be in Australia kind of thing going on, and that was the idea of, we want to keep it on AJ for that. Would that have changed anyway about how you thought retroactively about the Shinsuke thing and him never able to accomplish getting that title and now being, of course, the U.S. champion?
No, I'm not really upset with how Shinsuke was booked throughout their feud. I don't think that it takes away anything with the matches that they had. The fact that Shinsuke never won the title, and it'll make it that much more important when he finally does win it. And also, like you said, he is the U.S. champion now, so he has. I mean, you could look at it as a consolation, and I feel like that's for a lot of people, that's what the U.S. title kind of is. As of late, they've kind of tried to bring it back up and make it more important, kind of like how the Intercontinental Championship has become over the past couple years. But it's still, to me, it's the lesser of the two, and it kind of just feels like a consolation prize. But I mean, it's a championship, and he has it, so I'm not really that upset with how things with AJ and Shinsuke went. And if Rusev would have won, I don't think that would have changed my views on or make me upset that Shinsuke didn't win the title.
Real quick, Andre, I'd like to get rid of the U.S. championship.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, they do have a lot of titles. Why would you want to get rid of one, though?
Especially since we've basically gotten rid of the Universal Championship.
And there it is. Okay, let's move on to our actual main event of the night, the last match. Man, this crowd, I don't want to say they ruined it because I don't think they did. I just wish that I would have watched it on mute, and maybe that would have helped. But the crowds can help a match, and they hurt this one a little bit. And I guess watching it on mute would have been the way to go because it was a 30-minute Iron Man match. At the end, they should have taken the clock off too. That would have been another thing, and they did. But then
they did.
Okay, and then they still were counting down.
Yeah.
They would try and find times, which was even worse because then it was happening more than one time a minute. They had a 30-minute clock counting down, and every time it got to changing over to the next minute, they would count down from 10 as if it was the Royal Rumble. Pittsburgh, you're freaking killing me. And then this was awful. This was so annoying. Seth Rollins actually tweeted after the match 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I'm glad that they got lambasted on Twitter and social media the way that they did because it really was hard to watch. I couldn't believe that they continued to do this throughout every single minute and multiple times a minute.
It was awful. It was awful. It was terrible. And I feel exactly the same way like that you said. I don't want to say that this ruined the match, but it didn't. It took away from it. And this is Dolph Ziggler and Seth Rollins in a 30-minute Iron Man match. Are you kidding me? This is like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. This is such a big time matchup.
This is Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. That's great.
IC title in the main event. And
first time in 17 years.
And this is how the crowd reacts. And I mean, at one point in the match, Dolph Ziggler had Seth Rollins in a sleeper hold on the mat, and someone went online and focused in on what they were saying, and Dolph Ziggler said it's gotten even worse now. And Seth Rollins says back to him they should just put it back up. It affected them. It affected their match. It did. They were affected by it, and it was annoying. The first couple times, that's clever, funny,
right.
But to do it every minute, and then to do it once they took the clock down, and just 30 seconds into a minute they're doing it, and it was so annoying.
I was getting so angry because I love Dolph and Seth, and they were putting on a clinic. It's so frustrating because to go back and watch this classic match, which they did the way that they told the story of how they did the falls and when they did the falls, and I thought they were going to do something completely different. I thought they were going to do the McIntyre thing in the beginning and he was going to come back that way, but the way they did it was just incredibly smart and unique storytelling. and the match itself was great. And these two guys are guys that they've been clamoring for them to do stuff with. They've been saying they don't want Roman in the main event for how many months and years now, and they finally get what they want, and they do that. I was getting so angry at that crowd, and I felt incredibly bad for the two performers in the ring because they busted their tails and put on a great match, which is still a great match. They didn't ruin the match, but they made it. Put it this way, it's one of the few instances where I wish WWE would edit the crowd noise when they put it on the network. That's how infuriating it was.
Aiden, were you as annoyed as the rest of us at this?
After Backlash and watching enough 205 Live, I've become desensitized to the crowd enough where I just, subconsciously I ignore them. I focus on what's in the ring. That's what I'm supposed to focus on. I'm not watching this for crowd reactions. I'm watching this for wrestling. And this was an really a classic match. I mean, I feel there was probably too many pinfalls. 4 to 4 seems kind of a lot, but the way they did each one was, I'd say, almost perfect. Yeah, but it was a little too many pinfalls. But that's not what I'm complaining about. But I think it was an absolute classic match and worthy of main event status. But yeah, crowd was bad, but I didn't listen to them.
Well, good for you, man. It was hard to get out of my head. And I couldn't believe that it kept going on. I thought, okay, yeah, at least they'll be respectful for the last 5 minutes. And, at first I was like the last 10, and then I was like, okay, the last 5, and then okay, the last 3. And it just never happened, man. I really hope that WWE reconsiders where they do their pay-per-views from here on out. I hate, though, that it might hurt a place like... I don't think it would hurt in Milwaukee because we do have good crowds and we're like old AWA territory. We got a new stadium coming in like 8 to 10 weeks, or actually, oh no, I'm mixing that up with Madison. But in the next few months, we'll have a new stadium in Milwaukee, brand new stadium, and that's where WWE will start putting their shows. And you think that, I don't know, man. I hate to see that happen.
I'm more worried that not so much location, but that they might not do another Iron Man match for a long time now, because they're going to say, well, the next crowd's going to copycat that crowd and they're going to do it, so we got to wait for several years until it's not something, and that bothers me the most.
I'm also worried about having these two guys or guys like them in this spot and not a Roman Reigns be in the main event, because now it's like, well, we gave you what you wanted and you crapped all over it, so now we're going to go with what we always do, which is have Roman Reigns close out every pay-per-view. So that's my biggest fear coming away from the crowd's reaction to that match.
Well, only time will tell. We appreciate you guys all tuning in. And speaking of tuning in, you guys should tune into some of our social media pages.
Yeah, check us out. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Search for the Schmozcast.
There you have it. For Aiden, Chandler, and Andre, I am Frony signing out. Thanks for listening. Catch us next week.